how many times must I tell you? You must never put your life on the line for me.
Mother has always had a fascination for Lord Mortimer, but has never wanted to tell me why.
We are doing our utmost to find your mother as quickly as possible.
Without your mother, hundreds of men of the cloth would have gone to the guillotine.
All I can tell you is I'm looking for my sister.
Do you believe your mother capable of torturing a child?
An agreement for cannons. Lord Mortimer assured me that you are to take over the project on behalf of your mother.
Johann Christoph von Wollner, Minister of Religious Affairs, and Jacques Peroux, French Revolutionary Tribunal Judge. You will find that Lord Mortimer is not what one would call conventional, Monsieur de Richet. Monsieur de Richet, I am arresting you for the murder of Elizabeth Adams.
Is there nothing you want to say, Louis?
It wasn't me. I didn't kill her.
I'd much rather have met you under different circumstances.
Lord Mortimer, believe me, I'm very conscious of the gravity of the situation. Everything seems to point to me as the one who killed Elizabeth, but I swear I am innocent.
Out of respect for your mother, rest assured that I do want to believe you.
And all I want is to be able to prove it to you. When do we start?
We already have. Tell me, Louis, how do you feel?
I feel a bit disoriented.
That's only normal in your situation. You can hardly say you've been left unscathed lately. First, the disappearance of your mother, and now, this murder.
Where are you going with this, my lord?
Sarah's behavior grew odd before her disappearance. Her attitude changed. She became prey to outbursts of violence and a number of temporary absences. I'm just trying to make sure that you don't go getting lost like your mother did.
You're not suggesting that I might have killed Elizabeth and that I don't remember, are you?
I don't know, Louis. It's just that what with your mother and now you, it's rather a lot. The more I take stock of the situation, the more I'm under the impression that you've been set up. But before going any further, I must inform you that Sir Gregory is about to arrive. He is coming to question you about the murder of poor Elizabeth, whom he was very fond of. He is quite determined to find the culprit, whomever they may be. So, convince him of your innocence. Then we can continue this conversation.
William, I would like to see you a moment before we begin. In private.
Let's step outside a moment. Louis, this'll only take a few moments.
Take this chance to look around.
Please, sit back down, Louis.
This sort of behavior is not working in your favor, young man. Monsieur de Richet, you were found standing over Miss Adams' body. We must shed some light on your responsibility in this tragedy. We shall then decide on your fate. But you must know that if you do not convince us of your innocence, it will cost you dearly. Now you are going to tell us everything that happened last night, without leaving any detail out. First things first, how did your evening begin?
Duchess Hillsborough and I were returning to our rooms when Elizabeth came upon us.
Oh, so you were with the Duchess?
Yes, we were talking. We were walking up the stairs, and it was late.
Where did you come from?
I don't remember. I think we came from the Grand Hall.
Oh, isn't that surprising? Do continue.
We were heading for our rooms when Elizabeth burst into the corridor, barely dressed. She was panic-stricken and insisted on speaking to me. So I found myself in Elizabeth's room. We sat down together. She insisted we have a drink, or she would refuse to confide in me.
What exactly did she want to speak about at such a late hour?
She was panicked. She claimed she had just seen my mother on the island.
Did she say where she saw her?
I seem to remember something about cliffs.
Let us continue. And what happened next?
Then she told me she had poured lot. In my glass. The next minute I was on the floor. When I woke up, she was lying in a pool of blood.
That is all you have to say? You expect us to believe that you have no idea what happened to her?
Yes, because I'm telling you the truth.
How can you possibly expect us to believe you?
Gregory, we must consider every possibility. Louis, do you have any idea who could have done it?
Why don't you ask him where he was last night?
Monsieur Peru, what would his motive be? Do you have any proof?
No, not exactly, but he'd already roughed her up once.
Monsieur de Richet, you should not accuse the first person to come along without at least some proof. I'm sure you are worthier than that.
Can you think of anyone else?
Let's finish this, William. I don't rightly know how we can give the benefit of the doubt to an individual who can manipulate the truth to absurdity.
Louis, unfortunately, you haven't managed to convince us. You will agree that you had the time and the motive to commit the murder. I am devastated, but I must agree with Gregory and declare you guilty.
Gentlemen, if you please, wait. There is something else. Elizabeth ended up telling me why my mother had tried to treat her.
The voices in her head, is that it?
She spoke to you about them too, didn't she? Gentlemen, I'm not a doctor, but she was persuaded she heard voices in her head. You don't think she might have killed herself,
By
do you?
stabbing herself 9 times. I find that extremely unlikely, don't
What?
you?
Stabbed 9 times?
It appears that the murderer walked up and stabbed her several times from behind. We counted 9 gashes in all. All of them were relatively shallow, and they were all given from roughly the same angle of attack. Traces of blood appear to prove that she was standing throughout the attack.
I might not have the strength of Hercules, but if I had stabbed a woman, I'd probably have made deeper cuts.
Sounds plausible. I have to admit, you put forward a powerful argument, Monsieur de Richet.
I think that will be all, Gregory. The benefit of the doubt suffices. I would like to thank you for helping us shed light on what happened last night. To be honest, you are not the only suspect. I'm prepared to believe you were drugged. Our poor Elizabeth hid the stuff everywhere, and I could smell laudanum on you 3 yards away.
So you knew it wasn't me from the start?
We weren't sure. Louis, I am sorry, but everything points in the same direction. I only know one person on this island who might have had a big enough grudge against Elizabeth, who has no alibi, and whose behavior is, well, suspect. Not to mention dangerous.
Tell me what happened before my arrival. I think I've been patient enough.
You don't need us for any of this. So come along, Monsieur Peru. We are leaving.
Right. It's time we spoke about your mother, Louis.
She isn't missing, you know.
What? What do you mean?
My mother has left traces in every nook and cranny of your island, my lord. She's definitely here. Now, what worries me most is why she doesn't show herself.
That doesn't make me feel any better, Louis.
What was the official reason why my mother came to your island?
I knew about your mother's activities, and yours, in the Golden Order. I thought we had everything to gain by working together.
You mean the cannon deal with Monsieur Bonaparte?
Among others, yes. How did you hear about that?
Monsieur Bonaparte came to speak to me about it yesterday, during lunch.
I see. So impetuous. He was supposed to let me speak to you about it first. Our friend Napoleon desperately needed financial backing to properly equip his army. I took it upon myself to back him because I have a firm conviction that he can go far.
We shall see. However, there's one thing that surprises me. Did my mother intend to finance a war? I'm not sure that I follow.
No, your mother's aim was not so much to partake in a war, but rather to make Monsieur Bonaparte accountable. France is in turmoil, and having support of a military man can often come in handy, Louis. You'll see. Once this deal was closed, I had big plans for Sarah.
Such as what?
You see, I've invited several influential figures on my island to present them with a project at the conference. It will be presented later today. I thought that the Golden Order had a role to play, and I still think so. I was hoping Sarah would be able to join us.
I see.
Indeed, if by chance your mother decided not to return to us before the conference, would you do me the great honor of attending? If only to follow the deliberations while waiting for her to duly take her seat.
Why not? We shall see.
Ah, thank you so much. In this way, you'll be able to keep your mother informed of what is said. There's something else I'd like to briefly go over. Earlier, you asked me the official reason for your mother's presence here. Is there an off-the-record reason why your mother came here?
If only my mother had trusted me, but she remained very mysterious. I'd have been delighted to answer your question.
Is this usual for her?
As head of the Order, secrets are her bread and butter, as you can imagine. That said, it's the first time she hasn't let me in on the reason for her trip. And it intrigues me, to tell you the truth.
Well, I'm sure that Sarah will explain everything once she reappears. There's something I still don't get. In your opinion, why would your mother remain in hiding over several weeks?
Her not coming back to the manor after so long makes me wonder if she is wary of someone.
Well, certainly. But whom? The only ones who were present during her stay were Sir Gregory, Duchess Hillsborough, Mr. von Wollner, and myself.
You forget Elizabeth Adams, my lord.
That's true. But Gregory and I arranged it so that they wouldn't run into each other. I thought it had worked.
Do you think that your mother felt she was in danger because of Elizabeth?
It's possible.
The only thing I can tell you is that Sarah had indeed changed. At the beginning of her stay here, we enjoyed spending time together, solving the world's problems.
You seem to know my mother very well, my lord. What did you talk about together?
Oh, as soon as we had a little free time, we liked to share points of view about practically any subject. We would find ourselves embarked on interminable discussions that could go from Monsieur Blanchard's flight in a hot air balloon to the Treaty of Jassy, or the adoption of the metric system in France last year, or even Mr. Eli Whitney's invention in the United States.
My mother must have undoubtedly taken great pleasure in these exchanges. She always was one to appreciate broadening her knowledge. I'm surprised she didn't get you started on the Crusades. It was her favorite subject.
Are you joking? Sarah and I spent entire days together reliving them. It so happens that the Crusades are also my subject of predilection, especially the Third. My ancestor distinguished himself brilliantly during the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Unfortunately, my lord, the Crusades are not my chosen field.
Well, it doesn't matter. You have plenty of time to learn. Your mother is a very well-read woman. You're quite lucky to have her as a model, Louis.
Yes, I know, but I'm still very worried.
I must admit, there are worse things to worry about now, Louis.
What do you mean?
Since she disappeared, your mother has been seen once. Her behavior on the evening of your arrival greatly surprised Gregory and myself. She resurfaced to attack Emma, Emily Hillsborough's twin sister. And she shot her with a pistol. Then, before Gregory could intervene, she ran off and disappeared again.
I beg your pardon? Hang on.
That means my vision on the wharf, it was actually happening inside the manor. Mother shot Emily's sister? The very person she came looking for? Why would she do that?
Excuse me, but between that and the childhood of Lady Adams, it's all a bit much for me to cope with. I need to piece it all together again to see things more clearly. You said that you spent a lot of time talking together at the beginning. What happened for that to change?
I'm afraid I haven't much to tell you. The more the days went by, the more she withdrew into herself. She never gave me an explanation, until the day came when she purely and simply disappeared.
Where did she go when she wanted to be alone?
She would shut herself away in a room we use as a box room upstairs.
Would you allow me to go there?
Naturally, Louis, of course. I'll send you a servant to open it.
Thank you.
That's all I can tell you about the disappearance of your mother, Louis. I would like to have been more helpful.
I shall stay on her trail and follow up any leads.
Thank you. We will meet later on to welcome our last guest. In the meantime, I shall get someone to open the box room upstairs for you.
Thank you.
The room is just opposite Mortimer's study.
Monsieur Napoleon Bonaparte.
Duchess Emily Hillsborough.
Monsieur Johann von Wulner.
There are burnt papers in the chimney. There's a legible fragment left. Hey, I recognize my mother's handwriting. She says, we must find a safer way to communicate. Someone is onto us. Trust in my faith in the man with the sword. So Mother had an accomplice here. Who could it be? Who could she be suspicious of? I must find the next part. Faith, sword. I recognize her love of riddles there. Dante's Paradise. Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays. What is this disc? Oh, that reminds me of the ones my mother collects. It's magnetic. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. Caravaggio attained a magnificent command of black and the play of colors too. Paul facing an ordeal, the curtains of his illusions being raised, and receives the light from his Savior. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. A fierce opponent of the first Christians, St. Paul is suddenly struck by the call of Jesus Christ and converts. It's the best known conversion in Christian history, which teaches us that even enemies of Christ can be saved and even become his greatest apostles after finding faith. From what I can recall, the account of his conversion could be found in the epistles to the Galatians, the Philippians, the Corinthians, and the Acts of the Apostles. The door appears to be locked on the other side. I think I heard something fall to the ground. A metallic sound, like a key falling to the floor. We'll see if it works. It's open. all painted by Guido Rini. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. I don't know, what does that mean?
A fragment of amber.
Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Rini. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Rini. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Rini. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. It's St. John, painted by Guido Rini. The New Testament. This book is incredibly precious. I believe this is the book my mother referred to when calling upon the Lord. A volume of the Gutenberg Bible. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. Oh, wait, a note from Mother is carefully folded between the pages here. What does it say? Dear E, I'm glad you found this note. I was afraid the code of the two groups of pilgrims would mislead you. Pick up the package. You know where, and hide it where no one will find it. It's imperative. Awaiting your reply, hidden behind the youngest apostle. What? The youngest apostle? What does Mother mean by that? I guess I'll just come back later. A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Rini. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean?
looks like it's been taken down recently. But wasn't my mother said that she would wait for an answer hidden behind the apostle? Ah, of course. There's something written behind the painting. On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add 1 companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? St. John is the only apostle painted in this gallery who hasn't got a beard. Hey, wait! That means it's him. He's the youngest apostle. Right. This painting is therefore associated with the answer which E had to give to my mother. Now, I just need to know how to recover the answer. They should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies?
Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. Looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. A chest with the occult symbol representing air. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. St. Paul is the only saint to be presented twice in these paintings, contrary to the other apostles. How come? Dante's Paradise. Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. Of the 4 apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? On the second day, the pilgrims listened to the prophecy of the young apostle. The prophecy of the young apostle, that was John. And the prophecy mentioned is most likely the book of Revelations according to St. John. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times and a half a time, from the face of the serpent. Hey, a new note. It's been folded carefully in the corner of this page. The writing, it's not my mother's. S. I found the book in your effects. I've concealed it where no one can get their hands on it. I can assure you, awaiting your instructions, I will hear your reply like he who hears the angel. Hears the angel? What does that mean? Oh, it's probably the place where she was expecting to get the location of the next note. There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean? For we are unto God a sweet savor of Christ, in them that are saved, and in them that perish. Now I pray to God that ye do no evil, not that we should appear approved, but that ye should do that which is honest. For we are as reprobates. Because we look not at the things that are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. How shall not the ministration of the Spirit not be more glorious? For you are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. If we have hope in Christ in this life only, we are, of all men, most miserable. Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law with one another. Why do ye not rather suffer injustice? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Ah, look, here's a message. It is of paramount importance that no one finds it. Watch out for the Prussian. He's on the trail. Let's meet up. I'll leave it to you to organize the rendezvous. Not today. I'm unable to do it. In the meantime, I'll follow the first group to Mark, who will reveal the answer to them. And that first group of pilgrims, how many are there now? If I refer to the chapter I'm reading at the moment, 6. Then came together unto him the Pharisees, and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee, and was baptized by John in Jordan. And as they did eat, Jesus took bread, and blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to them, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet. Then came together unto him the Pharisees, and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven like a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and chief of the priests which did so. And he became very hungry, and would have eaten, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance. Hey, there's a note here. A message from Mother in reply to E. We must leave urgently, but first I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare. Watch out for Volner. He figured out I was avoiding him. Allay suspicion. See you tomorrow evening. Stand ready. For now, let's cease all communication until we meet. Take care of yourself. I suppose this must be the last message. What happened afterward? If it's what I suspect, I fear the worst. What did Mother mean by, I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare? I must go beyond the nightmare. What does she mean by that? Clearly, she must be trying to do something useful, but what? The nightmare. Does that remind me of anything? It probably has to do with an object or something. Granting that this is the case, where might it be found? thought it would have been over there, but something's telling me that it isn't. I better keep searching. Mortimer's getting his guests together. I ought to join them so I don't look suspicious. It's time I went back and joined everyone in the small salon.
You are expected in the small salon, sir.
Emily, I must speak to you.
What's the matter, Louis?
I have news about your sister.
What have you found out?
Look, I've started piecing together the events leading up to my mother's disappearance and your sister's. Did my mother know about your secret?
Yes, even though I belong to the English chapter, her rank in the Order gives her access to a good deal of personal information.
It must have been Emma I saw in my vision.
I was given to understand that my mother and your sister bonded during their stay.
Mother's really killed her sister. I'd better find her by myself.
They say they spent a lot of time together. They got along well.
Oh, really? Do you think your mother liked Duchess Hillsborough?
Of course she did. After all, she's your sister. Well, we'll find them, Emily. Trust me.
Should I speak to her about my vision? If what I saw is true, she might want to take revenge.
Emily, there's something else.
Go on, then.
It's about your sister. I don't know what happened exactly, but it's possible that my mother had a go at her.
I know, Louis. I found out that same evening. Well, thanks for not trying to hide it.
What? Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't know if I could trust you. Now I know I can. It seems that your mother tricked Emma. She apparently asked her to hide an important book, so that even she wouldn't know where it was. And then she shot her like a dog to make sure no one would ever find it again.
Why would she do that?
I don't know, Louis, but I'll find out. You can count on that.
I'm sincerely sorry, Emily.
Thank you, Louis. But you do realize your mother will have to accept the consequences of her acts.
There must be an explanation, Emily.
That's what we shall see. Come, Louis. They're waiting for us.
You will pay dearly, Peru. I'm sure you were involved somewhere along the line.
That's right. Pretend you don't know. One piece of advice. Don't travel through France on your way back, or it'll cost you dearly.
Calm now, my friends. Let's calm down. Everyone seems to be a little unnecessarily heated. Don't forget where you are, please.
What's going on here exactly?
Sir Gregory called us together to introduce the last guest.
But hardly had we arrived when he set upon Monsieur Peru.
And what has Mr. Peru done to once again provoke someone's anger?
We don't really know just yet.
I get the feeling it won't be long before it gets out.
How could you dare do such a thing? Dios mío, you are all out of your minds!
Really, Duke Manuel? What made you kick up such a fuss?
What? Have you not heard? Well, let me inform you that yesterday morning at 10:22 a.m. precisely, in the middle of the Place de la Révolution in Paris, by decree of the National Convention which Monsieur Peru works for, King Louis was guillotined.
What?
Oh, no.
The King of France is dead, gentlemen. Our monarchies are in danger. I have said it before. How dare they?
Oh, dear.
Oh, as if it...
Friends, let us calm down.
Don't pretend to be surprised. He got a fair trial.
Ridiculous! Bastard! He was sentenced to death by 361 votes to 360. You beheaded a king for one vote! Is that your democracy?
What an obnoxious act. Until this, anything was possible. This political coup will have grave consequences.
France is lost.
Gentlemen, please. Let us take a step back a moment.
In the name of holiness. He was the highest representative of God in France, Emily.
Gentlemen, Duchess, we're all among people of reputable company here. We should be able to manage the conflicts of our nations in a respectful and orderly manner.
I fully agree with you, sir.
But
That's enough, sir.
with whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
Louis Maras de Richet.
Are you related to Sarah de Richet?
Sarah is his mother, Duke. Gentlemen, this news affects us all, but I must ask you to remain calm. It's not the first time history has taken us by surprise. Let's ensure that our respective countries are allowed to respond appropriately to this news.
Oh, rest assured. The response will not fall short, my friend.
Good for you. Well, Your Grace, here I was preparing to introduce you as is proper, and you've beaten me to it. I'm delighted that we are all together at last. Our meeting will therefore be able to kick off shortly. I have just a few more little preparations to take care of before you all find out the reason for your presence here. In the meantime, I shall leave you to get to know one another. When you hear the bell, please proceed to the conclave room on my left, behind that door. I'll see you later.
Could you spare a moment, please, sir?
I'm glad you asked. I want to talk to you, too.
Of course.
I heard about your mother's disappearance.
He looks concerned. I don't know why, but I doubt it's from sympathy alone. Well, Let's see what he wants from me.
Any news of her? Have you found her, maybe?
Hear you speak, it sounds like you and my mother were close.
Let's say I hold your mother in high esteem, yes. We were even planning to work together.
That's what he was getting at.
Did she tell you about our arrangement?
Absolutely, but I was hoping that you could tell me more about it.
Well, she was planning to sell me a very old book. I will make no secret of the fact that I am passionate about the subject. And when Sarah spoke to me about it, her account literally had me enthralled. I can think of nothing else since. You might have come across some old books in her belongings, perhaps?
The least one can say is that he doesn't beat around the bush. Sarah never travels without a few books. What does the one you're looking for look like exactly?
It resembles a grimoire. It's divided into 7 parts, each one individually locked. It was made in such a way that if someone tried to tamper with it, the sheets would be permanently tarnished. It's a unique copy. There's only one.
The mere mention of it makes his face light up. Well, I'll take a closer look, but I can't promise you anything. You seem very upset. Is it so important to you, this book?
Well, it's the search of a lifetime. What can I say? Every time I move closer to it, it seems to slip away at the last minute. I was very surprised to learn that your mother had it in her possession. I thought it was with a certain von Borchardt in Paris. Do you know him?
Indeed. One of your close friends?
No, not really, but we were close once. Precisely over the case that concerns us now, because he claimed to have the book I'm looking for.
Another dishonest person. What can you say? Can't trust anyone these days, huh?
No, you can't.
I hope I've been able to satisfy your curiosity, Mr. von Wollner, and that you succeed in finding what you're looking for.
Oh, and so do I.
And now, what if you told me who you really are working for, instead of keeping up this pretense?
I beg your pardon?
We both know what you're looking for, von Wollner. You're the one who von Burchard was planning to sell it to.
For centuries, all those who have come into contact with the Al-Azif have bitterly regretted it, Monsieur de Richet. You are playing a dangerous game. Please know that I am working for someone who does not appreciate anyone poking around in his business.
Let me guess. Your dear king, I should think.
What? You mean Frederick William? Oh, my poor fellow. You are miles away. That stupid, pretentious puppet wields no real power. But seeing as you do not wish to be serious, so be it. Good luck to you.
There's a pattern with 5 circles on this chest. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later.
no space left. I'll retrieve it.
Chronicles of the Amber Princes. As I recall, Dorkin was my favorite character. Monsieur Bonaparte, may I speak with you a moment?
May we?
Does expression "go beyond the nightmare" mean anything to you at all?
Well, metaphorically, yes. It sums up the career of a soldier quite well. I doubt that is what you want to hear, though.
Indeed.
That's surely not what I'm looking for.
Well, monsieur, if you are looking for a phrase book, Lord Mortimer must surely have one, given the number of books he has. You ought to check in the library of the tower. You never know.
What do you think of Duke Godoy?
Well, I'd rather not express any opinion of him.
Why is that?
His reputation is enough for me.
Meaning?
This gentleman enjoys people talking about him for too many reasons. His undeserved titles, more than 10 in just 4 years, and each one more prestigious than the one before.
You don't think he deserves them?
If I had seen him on the battlefield, there might be some doubt. But that is not the case. The Queen would rather not risk losing him, so she consoles him with awards and titles.
So you don't have a very positive opinion?
His coveting French Catalonia does not encourage me to have one.
I understand your point of view. Would you have any more information about the conference Lord Mortimer spoke of?
Nothing at all. Mortimer is very committed to secrecy when it comes to his conferences. But given the presence of Monsieur Peru and ourselves, I think it must concern France to some extent. Otherwise, I doubt he would have invited 3 Frenchmen to his table, huh?
Well, I'll be leaving you now. Shall we meet up again later?
Wait, monsieur. Any news of your mother?
Unfortunately not, no.
I hope to speak with her about my deal before I leave. Let me know if you find her. À plus tard, monsieur.
What can I do for you, sir? I am at your service day and night, sir.
Go beyond the nightmare. Does this line remind you of anything in particular?
You've caught me unaware here, Louis. Let me think about it a second. No, nothing comes to mind. Sorry, Louis, but I am unable to help you.
Mr. President, what do you think about your counterpart, Duke Manuel?
I'm very surprised he was able to accept Lord Mortimer's invitation, given the political situation in Spain.
What do you mean?
The situation is ready to explode with France over Catalonia.
Well, the Duke must have a darn good reason to be absent and come here, mustn't he?
When Lord Mortimer invites you, Louis, you come. It's always in your best interest.
I wouldn't say that personally, but... Mr. President, can you tell me a little more about the coming conference?
Of course, Louis. That's why we're here. Lord Mortimer or Sir Gregory regularly organize meetings like this to put forward major projects.
What do you mean by major projects?
I'd prefer to let Lord Mortimer explain that to you, Louis. Let's say he brings together influential people in order to consider possible actions to undertake to guarantee the future of nations.
Do you know the theme of the conference?
Not in the slightest. None of the guests know the theme before arriving. But you'll see, everything will turn out fine. Don't worry.
Well, thank you for your time.
Don't mention it, my young friend. Regarding your question on the nightmare, don't hesitate to question the others about it. Maybe one of them knows more than I do.
That's a good idea. Thank you once again. I'll see you in a little bit.
Fragment of amber.
There's the alchemical symbol of the earth on the lid. Chinese coin, recognizable by the hole in the middle. If I remember rightly, that's called a cash. Which four-letter word could open this chest? The Coup de Lance by Paul Rubens. It's a book on the history of the Crusades. I don't think it has any connection with my research. It looks like a war painting. It's dated. Hang on. What's this painting? The Nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781. Ah, this must be what my mother was talking about. Now just need to find out what she meant by go beyond. Hey, looks like it's mounted on rails on each side. It should lift up, I think. There must be a mechanism somewhere. Aha! I found it. Oh, what on earth is this? A ring lock now? Great. That's all I needed. Now, what have we got here? Oh, it looks like a model of a lock. It's as if Mortimer is fond of complicating things sometimes. Well, I hope I never have to try and unlock it. Let's take a closer look. Judging by the shape, I'd say they're Criollo cocoa beans. The chocolate of the Mayas, the rarest of the beans. Some even say they're an aphrodisiac. When a product is in fashion, people attribute all sorts of virtues to it, not to be given to animals. Dark chocolate beans, very bitter. They're greatly prized in high society. Might come in handy. A painting depicting the Third Crusade. It's titled Winter Before the Fall of Saint Jean d'Acre. William Alexander Mortimer I, the 12th month of Anno Lucis, 5190. That's a funny date. A mynah bird.
Well, Waldo, is your master good? Tell me the door code. Sarah de Riche? Waldo, you know Sarah?
A mynah bird.
Tell me the door code. Here I am talking to a bird. Shame on me.
All right, that's enough of that. If I go on talking to a mynah bird, I'll end up going crazy. This painting isn't finished. And it looks like Mortimer probably did it. Not bad, but you can't exactly say it's been done in the style of the period. History of the First Crusades by Pierre Amédée de la Sarde. Strange. All the dates are all wrong. They indicate events that took place in the year 5000 and something? Wait, did I miss something? The famous call of Pope Urban II. 20 years after the capture of Jerusalem from the Arabs by the Turks, Urban II convened the council. He promises a plenary indulgence to Christians who go and get Jerusalem back from the Turks. The result, the Jewish community on the road to Jerusalem found itself persecuted for no reason. 12,000 Jews would perish, not to mention the massacre of Ma'ara, where acts of cannibalism by Frankish crusaders were reported, or even the capture of Jerusalem, where approximately 30,000 were left dead. It signaled the beginning of centuries of wars of religion. Or how Louis VII, King of France, eager to be pardoned for the death of thousands of innocent people in the fire of the Church of Vitry, convinces the Pope to authorize him to lead his own crusade. The result, in Germany, a new outburst of violence against the Jewish community, and a monumental fiasco by poor Louis VII, cuckolded by his wife's uncle. The famous call from Pope Gregory VIII in his Audita Tremendi Bull of 5187. Oh, the crusade where Richard the Lionhearted distinguished himself. It states the first sea blockade of Saint-Jean d'Acre was broken in the 12th month of 5190 AL, whereas the siege had been going on for 2 years. History of the First Crusades by Pierre Amédée de la Salle. Strange. All the dates are all wrong. They indicate events that took place in the year 5000 and something? Wait, did I miss something? Hey, there are 2 dates on this painting. 1154 AD and 5154 AL. Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Looks like there's a marker on number 1 on the second roller. Looks like there's a marker on number 1 on the second roller. History of the First Crusades by Pierre Amédée de la Salle. Strange. All the dates are all wrong. They indicate events that took place in the year 5000 and something? Wait, did I miss something? The famous call of Pope Urban II. 20 years after the capture of Jerusalem from the Arabs by the Turks, Urban II convened the council. He promises a plenary indulgence to Christians who go and get Jerusalem back from the Turks. The result, the Jewish community on the road to Jerusalem found itself persecuted for no reason. 12,000 Jews would perish, not to mention the massacre of Ma'ara, where acts of cannibalism by Frankish crusaders were reported, or even the capture of Jerusalem, where approximately 30,000 were left dead. It signaled the beginning of centuries of wars of religion. Or how Louis VII, King of France, eager to be pardoned for the death of thousands of innocent people in the fire of the Church of Vitry, convinces the Pope to authorize him to lead his own crusade. The result, in Germany, a new outburst of violence against the Jewish community, and a monumental fiasco by poor Louis VII, cuckolded by his wife's uncle. Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Still not working. I get the impression I counted the wrong way. It must be 1 year more then, right? Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Well, I got it wrong. It doesn't matter. Coup de Lance by Paul Rubens. A painting depicting the Third Crusade. It's titled Winter Before the Fall of Saint Jean d'Acre. I get the impression I've seen that before. In fact, I've read something on the Crusades before in the study. He clearly loves the subject.
Sesame. Let's see what you've been hiding, Lord Murderer. It shows the forces present in Africa. This is unexpected activity in this sector. It looks like there are also many unknowns, even for Mortimer. Weakness of the Human Psyche by Guillaume Trimore. He says, it is possible to drill an idea into someone by constant daily repetition until the mind gives in. And goes on, there are hundreds of good ways to live life, but you only need one to convince the masses that it's the only one possible. This shows the forces present in America. This is my mother's writing. I've picked up her trail. What is she up to? Obviously, she wants to lure Mortimer somewhere, but where? The only clue she's left for Mortimer is this stone sword. It must be intentional. It looks like a decorative sword, like from a statue, for example. And judging by the state of it, I'm guessing it's been left outside for a long time. I have absolutely got to find out where it came from. It shows the forces present in Europe. It's clear that France is surrounded by her enemies. However,
A large number has been underlined in bold. 26 million. I know what it is. It's an estimation of my country's population. All our neighbors have far fewer inhabitants. Something strange about this table. What kind of experiments does Mortimer carry out here? It's a dissection table. So Mortimer does autopsies here on his desert island. But who is he doing autopsies on then? The little surgeon's perfect collection. What kind of experiments does Mortimer carry out here? It's a dissection table. So Mortimer does autopsies here on his desert island. But who is he doing autopsies on then? Preservation using formaldehyde. Just as disgusting as ever. Looks like obsidian or onyx. It must weigh a ton. These are feathers. Pigeon, probably. A skeleton by the name of Gustav, if the plaque on the plinth is anything to go by. Mortimer's given a name to his anatomy skeleton. That's morbid. Look, a pack of tarot cards. Has he been reading the cards? Mortimer? That would surprise me. It is a typical draw on a line that answers a specific question. To the left, temperance. That announces a reward for one who patiently waits before taking any action. And in the middle, the chariot, which symbolizes triumph and business success. To the right, the Emperor evokes a future full of power and stability. Some goat skulls, chicken legs. Now we all know what that's for. I'm old 3 rusty old nails. They're about 20 centimeters long. That must be for writing the homing pigeon messages. An iron mask. I wonder who it's for. chest with a motif representing the alchemical symbol of fire.
Am I seeing things, or is that an actual von Leeuwenhoek microscope? Incredible. Mortimer really is at the cutting edge of science. Even at the Order, it took us ages to get one of those. A table of alchemical elements. So, Lord Mortimer also studies alchemy? It seems like he's interested in everything.
It's locked.
Oh, shit. How am I gonna get out of here now? This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side. This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side. Whoa. If the grid closes a bit more every time I enter a wrong date, I'd better not mess up again. It doesn't seem to be working. This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side.
looks like the same as the one on the other side. This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side. Well, better not dwell on it then.